All right, YouTube, Repo Man 64. Quick video. I have been thinking about this Joshua thing for a really long time. What happened? Why would a guy come out, claim what he claimed, and then the rapture passed? And it dawns on me. I just realize it. Then Noah's a liar as well, because Noah was told 120 years in advance to build an ark and to get on that ark. And he was told on October the 25th, because God came to Noah and said, get on the ark. And he sat in there and the earth didn't flood. God gave yet another week. He gave that week for the mockers and the scoffers. He gave that week for those who would trust in God and kneel down and accept that free gift of salvation. Take that cup and drink from it. And it was, by the way, it was God's Land Down Under, Brett, who said the only thing we can give Jesus back is an empty cup. So I did some math. And while I don't think that trumpets can be moved around, it's a static calendar and it happened on September the 15th. I think the day of the rapture was supposed to happen on atonement on September the 23rd, 24th. But there's this 7 day wait. There's this 7 day period to Jesus's birthday. And we find that in the account of Solomon. Why in the world would Solomon, the smartest man on the face of the earth, smarter than anybody we have today, take a feast that God said would last 7 days, and on the eighth day, a solemn assembly? Why would he take that feast and turn it into a 14-day feast? It was because the smartest man on the planet was trying to tell us something. Let me go to the pictures and show those to you. Hopefully that bar moves up out of the way this time. And there it goes. All right. Right here. The flood happened in 1652. Noah was told by God on October the 25th, and I'll show that to you, that the 120 years in advance, he told him in 1536, in 120 years, I'm going to wipe everybody off the face of the earth. He did that here. What did Noah look like as he entered that ark with all the animals? His grandfather Methuselah died, and he buried him on October the 24th, going into the 25th. When he buried Methuselah, what did he look like as he sat on that ark? And why didn't any of those people outside the ark believe him? I thought you said today was the day. I thought you said it was going to flood today. They're sitting out there, like I said in the last video, throwing a party. They've got a barbecue going on, playing music, wearing togas, laughing, dancing, drinking, while Noah is sitting in the ark. His wife is staring at the side of his head for 7 days, going, what's going on? And Noah sat there in faith with that ark door open. And on the seventh day, on October the 31st, at sunset, becoming November the 1st, God shut the door. This information can be found in the book of Enoch. It can be found in the book of Jubilees, in the Legends of the Jews. It all accounts the same story. Why did he go in on October the 25th? Because that's the day God was supposed to flood the earth. But according to those books, extra biblical books, historical books, they don't belong in the Bible, but they're there. If you go to search, you try to get deeper into the meanings of everything and why God told him to go in there 7 days early, you will find the reason. And the reason is because he wanted to not only give time for people to repent and get on the ark, which they didn't, but he also wanted to give time for the mockers. There is a prophecy that must be fulfilled. We've had mockers for 2,000 years, yes, but not like we've seen since this prophecy from Joshua. Now, I reserved my comments on Joshua, aside from saying, find it weird that 2018 you got this prophecy and just now you're bringing it out. Aside from saying my static calendar says Feast of Trumpets passed and what you're looking at is the Day of Atonement, aside from those things, which I did say, I have had time to reflect on this, and I think that's what we're seeing. I think we're seeing this moment because Joshua just had another video. It's one of the reasons I'm out here. He just made another video. It's gotten a lot of views, and the comments are absolutely rude. Things you would not say if you were face to face. People have a lot more courage in the comment section than they would have if they were standing face to face with the person. They would not talk that way. They would be more respectful. They might disagree. They might even say, you're wrong, but they certainly wouldn't mock the way they do. And they are mocking in that comment section like I've never seen. And I'm like, why is this guy making this video right now, or make the video right now on YouTube with these twins and saying he knows what he heard? Why didn't he just disappear into the woodwork? Why is he putting his face out there again? It's because he heard the date. It's because Noah heard the date. Ironically, this is exactly 30 days after what we see. I have never been upset at Joshua. I've been upset at the people who have interviewed him, the twins, others who did not get down to the meat of the conversation. I would have had a completely different list of questions for Joshua myself, but I didn't get that opportunity to interview him. Here we are. We are in 1536. Noah is 480 years old. God says, when you're 600, I will flood the earth. It is October the 25th, and he's sitting in that ark, and they are laughing at him. They are absolutely laughing at him. His wife's like staring at the side of his head. Should we stay in here? And he's like, yeah, God said that the flood is going to come. And what does it do? It comes 7 days later. So let me show you what I think is going on. My take on this. I've been thinking about this since it came out, trying to understand this, trying to understand why this would happen when he said it would on a date that I'm kind of looking at anyway, because it's atonement. And it dawns on me. Oh, this is something from Spinebreaker. He put it together in a few moments, and he is putting a lot of the calendars together. Dead Sea Scrolls, the Julian calendar, the Equilux, and the first day of Tabernacles. He's put together a little graph here. All these people have this computer technology that I just don't. I have crayon. All right. Remember, I was saying I don't know what the verse is. Well, many of you left me the verse. It was John 11:4. And now we can understand this verse a little bit better. Not only was it the day of equal parts, because Jesus said, are there not 12 hours in a day? Not only the feast of the, what is it, Rosh Hashanah, is a 2-day feast. Trumpets is not. Trumpets is a 1-day feast. Rosh Hashanah was moved according to Exodus 12. That's why Jesus sat still for those 2 days. Jesus was directly pointing us at a correct timeline. He sat still for 2 days. His best friend, now a certain man, was sick, named Lazarus of Bethany, the town of Mary and her sister Martha. It was that Mary which anointed the Lord with ointment and wiped his feet with her hair, whose brother Lazarus was sick. Therefore his sisters sent unto him, saying, Lord, behold, him who thou lovest is sick. When Jesus heard that, he said, "This sickness is not unto death." The death Jesus is speaking about is the lake of fire. That is the one time that mankind would be appointed to death. But for the glory of God, that the Son of God might be glorified. Son of God is going to be glorified twice. It just so happens, as I work this out on the timeline, that the two witnesses, Elijah and Moses being brought back from the dead, will die. And it turns out they will die the day Lazarus died on March 16th. And they will rise on the day Jesus resurrected Lazarus. On that day is the day Jesus cried because he is getting all of the humans to heaven that will ever go. We are at the end of the 3.5 years, the end of the 1,260 days, the end of the two witnesses, just before Satan walks into the temple, or Antichrist walks into the temple and proclaims himself to be God. So this is twofold, that this event was seen through time by Jesus. Now, Jesus loved Martha and her sister and Lazarus. When he had heard, therefore, that he was sick, he abode 2 days. He awaited 2 days because it was Rosh Hashanah. He sat still for the 17th and 18th. He began walking. We know it's a 2 day walk because uh, it took him 2 days to get there because he resurrected him on the fourth day, which means it took the two messengers to get to Jesus 2 days. Then after that, saith he unto his disciples, "Let's go into Judea again." His disciples said unto him, and you know the rest of the story. The point is, this is also when the two witnesses are going to die in the year 2029, and they will die. They have to die at some point before the Antichrist goes in to proclaim himself to be God. And that math works out to now. This time is now. And I'll show that to you in a moment. Somebody sent me a comment, and I went in and checked, and they said from October 7th, when Israel was attacked, technically the first day would be October the 8th, but 723 days to September the 29th. At sunset on September the 29th, Jesus is born. September the 30th. September the 30th is Tabernacles. Jesus was not born on trumpets. He was not born on atonement. Mathematically, Jesus had to be circumcised and named on the 8th day. There's just not anything that's 8 days after trumpets. It just isn't anything. While you're building a timeline and it talks about specific things, they must land on something important. Jesus was conceived on Tabernacles. Apologies. Jesus was conceived on Christmas Day. Mary leapt in the womb. Remember, we're on the Julian calendar at this time. At this time, the Julian calendar is correct. I'm very aware that many people are using the Julian calendar and going 13 and a half, 14 days to compensate for these 14 days. The only thing I fear about that is they're actually looking at October the 7th, which is 2 years from when Israel attacked. It's Shemini Atzeret. It's the great eighth day. But I don't think we're going to be here. I think we're leaving on Jesus's birthday. And I think that we'll be in heaven by that time. At any rate, Jesus could not have been born on Tishri 1, on trumpets. Sorry about that. Because there's no occurrence 8 days later. So that's not correct. He couldn't have been born on atonement because 8 days later doesn't equate to anything either. He could have only been born on Tabernacles because Tabernacles is an 8 day feast. Tabernacles runs for 7 days, and then the great eighth day. The great eighth day is the day Jesus was named and circumcised. Could it be we are raptured on Jesus' birthday, September the 30th? We are changed. And we, just like Jesus, remember, don't touch me, for I have not ascended to the Father. He had to wait around for 7 days because you were unclean for 7 days. If you've been touched by a dead body or in a graveyard, we're all in dead bodies and we're all in a graveyard. So we'll be held somewhere. And the great eighth day is when Jesus was named and circumcised on October the 7th. Ironically, that's also the day the Jews were attacked in 2023. Why does Solomon take it upon himself to add 7 days to this feast? Also, at the same time, Solomon kept the feast 7 days, and all Israel with him, a very great congregation, from entering into a Hamath unto the river Egypt. And in the eighth day, he made a solemn assembly, for they kept the dedication. He adds this little part. This little part is added in here in Second Corinthians 7. He kept the dedication. This is where some people go wrong. They're like, oh, he's talking about Hanukkah. He's not. It's the 23rd day of the 7th month. Hanukkah does never falls in Tishri, ever. On the 23rd day of the 7th month is when he sent them away. Let me show you what happens on the timeline. There's three different passages talking about this. Leviticus actually says 7 and on the 8th day. And then we have two different accounts of Solomon keeping the feast for, in 1 Kings 8, what is that, 65, 7 and 7 days, 14 days in all. And he sent them away on the 8th day. It could only equate to a feast that happened 7 days before the actual feast began. And so what I think we have seen here, this is my take on it. What I think we've seen here is on September the 24th, which is the Day of Atonement. Trumpets is on September the 15th. The way Jesus, I know, was born on Tabernacles is because 8 days later there is an event. It is called Shemini Atzeret. You don't find that anywhere in between September 15th and September 24th, and you don't find that anywhere between September 24th and September 30th. You don't find 8 days anywhere between trumpets and atonement and tabernacles, but you do find an event 7 days later on October 7th, Shemini Atzeret. When was Israel attacked? October the 7th, Shemini Atzeret, 2023. Kevin said something about after 2 days. This will be at this point after 2 years. Now, Jesus is born here. Like I said, the reason I know Jesus was born on tabernacles is because there are 4 events talked about in the Bible revolving around his conception and birth. He was conceived on a day. John leapt in the womb on a day. Jesus was born on a day, and Jesus was circumcised on a day. In order for me to find exactly where that was, because I had so much information from everywhere. It's Hanukkah. He was born on this day. I looked at all these dates. Nothing happens 8 days later. The only time anything happens 8 days later is September the 30th to October the 7th. That is when is 8 days later, because it's actually the 29th at nightfall. So it's 8 days later. Jesus is conceived on Christmas Day. John leaps in the womb on New Year's Day. Jesus is born on Tabernacles. He came to tabernacle with us. And he is circumcised and named on October the 7th, Shemini Atzeret, the day Israel was attacked. So the same thing happens as I try to figure out the rapture date. I am not coming at this emotionally. I don't know Joshua from anyone, but it dawns on me today that was Noah a liar? Did God set Noah up to lie to the entire world for 120 years? The answer is yes. That's why he got in the ark. He got into the ark on October the 25th. Let me show you. We all know the story. The Bible tells us. We just don't understand the details behind the story. But we all know the story. October the 24th at nightfall. Remember, we have these 4 minutes a day we have to deal with. Heshvan 10, but October the 25th, Noah enters the ark and he sits there. He sits there for 7 days. He's got to be wondering what's going on. Everybody's laughing at him. The flood did not happen like he said, and he said it for 120 years. It's going to happen. And he is sitting there, and they are just laughing at him, mocking him, scoffing him. So much so, in extra biblical books, God comes on this day at nightfall on October the 31st, becoming November the 1st. God comes and shuts the door, and the rain begins to fall. And the extra biblical books record that they were outside banging on the doors to try to get in. They began to try to break the door open, but the beasts that were there was all kinds of wild animal. T-Rex might have been there. I don't know what all was there. You know what I'm saying? There was all kinds of animals outside there, and they begin to attack the people that were trying to get into the ark, because now, only now, they realized that while Noah was off by a week, he was off by 1 week. What he warned about for 120 years is come to fruition. It is going to happen. They see now it is happening. They never saw rain before this. And he's like, Noah's like, yeah, rain's going to fall out of the sky. And they're like, okay, we've never seen that before. Yeah, the rapture's going to happen. Okay, we've never seen that before. Do you see the relationship between the two stories? You see what's going on here. Joshua didn't lie to us. I had my reservations, but he didn't lie to us. God set him up. Is God the author of confusion? Everybody's loving to use that one. He's not. He's giving you one last chance at this, because right here, where did it all go? Right here. Joshua warned that on September the 23rd, 24th, a rapture was going to occur. He did call it trumpets, but it is actually atonement. That's what perked my ears up to it. But 7 days later, on Jesus' birthday, September the 30th, the rapture, I believe, is going to occur. We will be brought to heaven. And 7 days later, Jesus is named and circumcised on Tishri 22, which is actually October the 7th. October the 7th was when Israel was attacked. We will be raptured, and there will be some kind of I don't know what it is, but the timeline's telling me this. And like I said before, I don't approach this emotionally. These are numbers that keep popping up and appearing, and I don't always know what they mean. I only know that they're here. I only know that Israel was attacked on October the 7th. When I initially looked at this, I said, well, Tishri 22 is October the 6th. Why were they attacked here? Until I looked at this, the 13 hours and 36 minutes. What time were they attacked? That's right, 6:30 in the morning. They were attacked here at 6:30 in the morning, October the 7th. Why? Because 6:30 in the morning, October the 7th, is Tishri 22 at sunset, because of these 13 hours and 36 minutes. 6:30 is when they were attacked. Now, I think we are going to see a rapture. This is a educated guess, call it. I think we're going to see a rapture on tabernacles. I will not call this trumpets. This is tabernacles. Trumpets mathematically has to fall on September the 15th. It cannot fall down here 23rd and 24th. Like I said, did God lie to Noah? No. No, of course not. God can't lie. Did God know in advance that he was going to tell Noah to get into the ark on October the 24th, 25th, and then not flood the earth for an entire 7 days? Did he know that? Yes, he did. Why did he do it then? He did it to separate the sheep from the goats. He did it to separate the wheat from the tares. If you hate the rapture, I've heard so many people say this now, It's the most beautiful saying I've ever heard. Which God should I believe in? I don't know which God to follow. There's just so many religions. Which one do I believe in? The one you hate the most. That's the one you believe in, the one you hate the most. And you get this glassy eyed look on these people's faces like, well, I mean, I don't hate Jesus, but they know that's the one they hate the most because that's the one they say. This date, this date, 30 days prior to this date, 30 days exactly, is September the 30th. I know everybody has skipped to October the 7th, and they're moving trumpets down here 13. Actually, they're moving it from here to here 13 days because this is 13 days because of the Julian calendar. I've explained that. Did you know? And it's not a salvational issue. It's not that big a deal. I just keep getting these comments, and I'm like, I've explained this. Did you know the Gregorian calendar is also off, and that after 4,000, 5,000 years, it'll be off by a day? 5,000 years from now, if this were to continue on for 5,000 years, they will move the calendar back a day. And then a couple years later, it'll be like the rapture's going to happen on this day. Oh, but they messed with the Gregorian calendar. So maybe we should be looking at the following day. The same thing happened with the Julian calendar. It went wrong. It was nothing nefarious. They just did their math wrong. Every leap year, they did their math wrong. Instead of having 24 point blah, blah, blah minutes or whatever it was in that leap year, they were off. Over the course of 1,582 years, they were off by 10 days. To date, if you continued on with that mistake, they would be off by 13 days. The irony that I find in it is that 13 days after September the 24th is October the 7th. Now, October the 7th, we will have already been raptured a week earlier, and this will be the great eighth day. This will be the day Jesus is named and circumcised. Jesus named and circumcised right here, October the 7th. So the irony is you're still looking for the rapture. You're still trying to figure it out. The math might be wrong, but that doesn't matter. That's not a salvational issue. You're still looking. You're still trying to figure it out. I've seen some creative math. I just watched a video. Listen, Glass Darkly, I almost forgot. Glass Darkly Ministries did the most amazing mathematical um, uh, video I've ever seen, and I like math, and I was struggling to keep up. And she found a some symmetry in numbers, and you've got to go listen to it. It's amazing. It'll blow your mind. She is actually looking at. I think she's looking at tomorrow. Tomorrow. And honestly, that's a high watch day as well, because tomorrow's the day that Jesus turned water to wine. Actually, with the 13 hours, it kind of puts us over in the morning of September the 28th. But still, September the 27th is the number she comes up with. And so, and honestly, at sunset in Israel, it becomes the 28th anyway. So between sunset in Israel and 6 in the morning, it becomes the 28th anyway. So, but Glass Darkly Ministries. Glass Darkly Ministries. I am of course going to forget her name. Is it Lisa? I'm going to forget her name because I'm terrible at names. But today is the day equalized. I showed you that. Today there are 12 hours in a day and 12 hours at night. This day right here is the day that Lisa come up with, which I'll be watching. I will be watching because why? Because it's the day Jesus turned water to wine. And in the Dead Sea Scrolls, I believe they found that this was the day he did it. I think we're off by a day. Typically, they look at the day ahead. But at any rate, Jesus turns water to wine. What are we looking for? New bodies. You're not going to put new wine into old wineskins. You're going to put new wine into new wineskins. We're getting new bodies. Could something happen here? Yeah, it's possible. I'm not going to say no. But here is my next high watch day. Sunset on the 29th, coming into September the 30th, and we might be off by 13 hours. So it might actually be 6:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, Israel time. I base everything off Israel. If I give a time, it's because Israel. I'm thinking Israel. Always Israel. So that's my video. Did God lie to um, Joshua? No, he's looking for the separation. He's looking for the frenzy. He's looking to see who is going to overreact on this and who is going to mock and scoff at this. Some of you are bridezillas. Some of you went off the deep end and there was no reason for it. Compose yourself. You are a child of God. You are a Christian and you are saved and going to heaven. Uh, Compose yourself. But Noah got an opportunity as the rain began to yell out of a window as they were knocking on the door to get in. And he's like, oh, now you want in. Now I had the door open for a week, and all you did was laugh at me and throw parties and shoot spitballs at me for a week. Shoot spitballs at me, and here I am. I'm sealed in the ark, and it's raining, and now you want in. Boom. Did God lie to Noah? No. That was an opportunity. That 7 days was an opportunity. Did God lie to Joshua? I don't think so. I think this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity for you to get into your Bible, into the Word of God, and to drop to your knees and say, Lord, I don't know who's right. Look at all these calendars. There's so many of them. I can't tell if Repo Man is right and his static timeline. I can't tell if the sliver moon is right, the full moon. I can't tell any of this stuff. But all I do know is that I desperately need you because I am a sinner and I am going to go to hell. I know that. And if you don't step in my place, then I am going to go to the lake of fire and I don't want to go there. And he's going to bend over as you're down on the ground. He's going to bend over and offer you a cup. Inside of that cup is everything you need. It is a cup of salvation. Drink it down, hand him back the empty cup, like Brett from God's Undone Under said. Hand him back that cup and go to heaven in a rapture before everyone else. And then the tribulation saints will have the same identical opportunity. The difference is we're under the wrath of Satan right now, and God is holding him back. Soon, this planet, with the first seal being opened, will be under the wrath of God. Sinners go to hell. Sinners go to the lake of fire. That is a fact. All of us were headed there, except for that cup. And that cup will be offered to a great multitude that no man can count during the tribulation. And they will have the same, identical, exact opportunity as you do, except their robes will be bloody, but they will wash them white in the blood of Christ. And they will too appear in heaven after they die, a great multitude. The salvation of the bride and the salvation of the great multitude is identical. The only difference is we're not under the wrath of God. They will be. Remember that as we draw closer to the 27th and to the 30th, that something spectacular is about to happen. Something huge is about to happen. And I think it's the rapture. We will chat with you all again later.